Hey, how's it going guys? Jack and Matt here with the Toasty Bros, and we have another benchmark video for you. This time we're doing something a little bit higher end. This is the GTX 950.
As we continue our search for the best placeholder GPU in terms of value for money, we stumbled upon the GTX 950. You might think of the 960 and 970 when looking to build a budget PC right now, but a 950, it's not really thought of as much, but you might want to consider it after this benchmark run. But first, a word from today's sponsor.
Today's video is brought to you by Wondershare and their program Demo Creator, an all-in-one software for recording and editing your gameplay footage. Demo Creator makes it easy to record your gameplay footage by being able to select specific regions, monitors, or gameplay windows in order to capture your footage. Its intuitive UI also lets you add a webcam if that's your style. The software has a few key features that makes it ideal for content creators. The first is automatic facial recognition, allowing users to swap their backgrounds or remove them completely. Second is the sound effects store for easy access to a library of transitions, effects, and of course sound effects. And lastly, you can export your footage locally or store it on their cloud to help you keep your footage safe. If you're a content creator looking to take your content to the next level, then you should definitely check the link in the description down below and check out Wondershare's Demo Creator software today. And drop a comment down below because Wondershare was nice enough to give out a license to one of our viewers. Special thanks again to Wondershare for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get into the video, shall we?
So just to go over some of the key facts of why we decided to do the 950 is, one, many of them do not need external power. This one here does because it's an SCC model, so we're probably gonna see a slight 1% performance increase because of that. But another thing that's really awesome about them is 700 series and previous is no longer supported in NVIDIA drivers updates. Now, that doesn't mean the cards are useless. You can still use them, but modern games that are still updating to current drivers may not be able to take advantage of them and you may actually lose some performance, but that is good because we don't have to worry about that. We get a 950, which is 900 series, so we're still supported.
Just like when we benchmarked the 760, you saw it could play some games, but the driver support really hurt it in newer games that were updated a lot, which we'll talk more about during the benchmark run. But some of the key specs to mention, and I'm going to look at my phone so I can read it off, Mikhail's gonna show some fancy B-roll right there, is it comes with 768 CUDA cores, a base clock of 1024 megahertz, and a boost clock of 1188 megahertz. Do keep in mind, this is the spec on NVIDIA's website. Some super clocked models may have higher boost clocks, but within margin of error, you're going to see similar performance across the board. You do get 2 gigs of memory, GDDR5 memory. 2 gigs is okay for esports titles when you're stepping up to higher end games, as you'll see during the benchmarks. We might have some issues, but overall, this is a pretty good option to consider because it comes in around $100, a little bit cheaper, sometimes a little bit more expensive than the GTX 760, which doesn't have driver support, and the performance is going to show you that it might be worth actually picking up. So what we're going to go ahead and do is, well, it's already in this test bench. You can see our custom white modded 950 we picked up off of eBay. The guy painted it and added vinyl to it. So yeah, there's that. We're gonna go ahead and benchmark it in a couple games and then just wrap this video up real quick.
Alright guys, now that we have the test bench all booted up and ready to go, let's talk about this GTX 950, shall we? So we decided to test this PC in a handful of titles, those being Warzone, Fortnite, Forza 5, Apex Legends, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and we will be comparing this to the GTX 760 because at the time we're recording this video, the 760 goes for roughly the same price as the 950, about $100 on eBay, which is kind of baffling to me, and as you can see through the benchmarks, you'll start to see why it's kind of baffling to me. You can let me know down below why you think that might be the case, but they're both 2 gig cards, but I do think the 950 significantly has an advantage, so don't be buying that 760 if you can get a 950, but let me show you the benchmarks to prove it. First up, in Warzone at 1080p on 66% resolution scale, we averaged about 40 to 60 FPS. I would say we were stuck mainly at 50 to 48 most of the time, but it wasn't super stuttery. In comparison to the 760, we had to drop all the way down to 720p to get an average of 30 FPS, which is definitely unplayable, but at least with the GTX 950, we get a somewhat playable experience at 40 to 60 FPS, and yeah, it's not the greatest. I wouldn't be really competitive in a game like Warzone, but if you're just trying to get in the game, you can get a playable experience. You could drop down to 720p to probably get a locked 60 FPS, but I really do think the 950 is capable of playing games at 1080p, so that's why we stuck with that for all the benchmark runs. Next up, in Fortnite, which once again, I do have to give this disclaimer, Fortnite is a very CPU dependent game for the most most part, especially when we're running on performance mode or pro settings. In this case, we're running pro settings, or the older pro settings of epic view distance, everything else on low. But you guys really like to see Fortnite, so I'm going to test it, but do keep in mind it's very CPU dependent. We did get an average of 90 plus FPS, so if you're rocking something like a 5600X or an i3-10100 and you need a placeholder GPU and you want to play Fortnite, well, the GTX 950 certainly can fit that bill. Next up, in Forza Horizon 5 on medium settings using the built-in benchmark, we only averaged 32 FPS, but in comparison once again to the GTX 760, which only got 21 FPS, this is looking like a much better buy. I do think it's one of two things. One, the 760 is an obviously older card, obviously older architecture, and it's just not going to perform as well in newer games, but also the fact that it does not have that driver support. The beauty of the 950 and 900 series is NVIDIA is still supporting it, so you're going to get those game-ready drivers for Warzone to allow you to get 40 to 60 FPS, and game-ready drivers for all the new games releasing on the market as long as it has support. So the 950, in my opinion, is a no-brainer over the 760 if you're building a really cheap PC, or if you're looking for a card that is going to be a very affordable placeholder option that can still play most games at lower settings. Next up, in Apex Legends at low settings at 1080p, we actually managed a 60 FPS experience. I was pretty impressed with this. Now, do keep in mind we are playing Arenas mode because I've been testing Arenas mode for all the other systems we've done in this benchmark rotation, but Arenas mode is a little bit less demanding, so I'd imagine you're probably going to dip below 60 here and there, but still getting a 60 FPS experience in Apex Legends on a GTX 950 is still pretty impressive, and it shows that this card is kind of undervalued right now. Yeah, $100 is a little steep for it in my opinion, just like $100 is a little steep for the 760, but given the market right now, I could see someone paying $100 or finding one on the used market for about 80 to 90 with some negotiations, and having a pretty good option for a placeholder, as I mentioned, or for a really cheap budget build, which if you guys want to see us do a budget PC with it, let me know in the comment section down below. And the last game we decided to test was Shadow of the Tomb Raider at medium settings at 1080p with the built-in benchmark, and we averaged 30 FPS. So what you're looking at here with the GTX 950 is as follows. You can play esports titles no problems on medium-low settings, 1080p, 60 plus FPS. AAA titles, you're going to be looking at 30 unless you drop down to 720p, but overall, it's a pretty good placeholder option, and in my opinion, should be considered for budget PC builds, or as I mentioned, the whole point of this series, to find the best card that will hold you over until you can buy that one card that you want, like an RTX 3000 series or a new AMD card. So let me know down below if you're rocking a 950 or similar card, and also let me know what other graphics cards you want to see us test on the channel in comparison to see which is the best placeholder option. The more budget friendly, the better, so let me know down below. Now, how about we bring Jackson back in here to wrap this video up real quick?
Alright guys, so after testing out this card and comparing it to some previous cards like the 750 and 760, we just decided that this card just overall makes more sense because not only is it around the same price, but also this card right here is actually still supported and will still work for future updates.
So overall, the 950 is a card we would recommend as a good placeholder option. $100 or less is the price range I would look at if you're looking to use this card. And also stay tuned because we already have a PC build plan with this GTX 950 with a CPU that makes sense with it. So be sure you're subscribed and let us know what you think. But if you want to buy a 950 after watching today's video, link in the description down below. Be affiliate link and it will help us out. It is a generic eBay search to point you in the right direction to a bunch of listings that should have relative pricing to what we compared to in today's video.
So as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out our other two YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/toastybros, and do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one.
And if you don't want to have to worry about deal hunting for a graphics card like this, we can just hook you up with the whole freaking pre-built.
PCBros.tech is our PC selling business. We sell PCs with graphics cards like this or 3080s and 3090s if you have the budget for it. Check out our website or come in person. PCBros.tech. See you guys later. Goodbye.